Hello everybody, AOG Gaming here, back with another video on Balloons Tower Defense 6. So this is going to be not the Black Border series, well, I guess it's part of that, but it's more a video on beginner maps and how to complete them, or how to basically Black Border complete a beginner's map. Reason I'm doing this is because it's different for beginner, intermediate, hard, and expert maps. Of course, I haven't finished all the intermediate maps, but I've pretty much got the gist of it. Easy maps are, well, beginner maps are easy, so I don't really have to explain that. I haven't gone to harder experts, but or advanced and expert, right? Yeah, advanced and expert. Um, that being said, however, I will release another video right after this one, and it will be the black border completion of downstream, because I did find a strategy that works. I just was stupid and didn't do the run that I wanted, the way I wanted it to, so I had to go back home and then get a golden border. So that video wasn't posted. Do apologize for that. It will be posted though, because I already have the entire strategy down. It's very similar to the strategy I showed you for the last map, middle of the road, what I dubbed the ultimate soda strat. But anyways, let's get straight into it. So, how to complete an easy map and black border it as fast as possible. So first, you are given easy mode. Easy mode, you have standard, primary, and deflation. What easy mode does is it gets you used to the map. That's all that really easy mode does. It gets you ready for the early round games up to round 40, but keep this in mind. You shouldn't take the easy mode on the maps as, you know, a viable way to do a trim strategy, just because an easy map, or the easy part of a beginner map, or any map for that fact, doesn't really help you. It just gets you familiarized with the map. So what I would do for easy map, for sorry, not for easy maps, for easy difficulty on a map, is simply just place towers efficiently so that you can see how strong they are in those positions. Primary only, it gets you used to using primary towers. It doesn't really help you until you get to later maps, probably advanced and expert, because you use dart monkeys a lot and glue gunners, because they are cheap, and if you place them well, they're very efficient. But for the beginner maps, it doesn't really help you because they're already really easy. If you have trouble doing easy mode on beginner maps, I can't really help you. I'm sorry. That's just how the game works. You should know how to do easy, and I'm pretty sure everyone does. It's the easiest game mode in the game because it's on a beginner map and you're playing easy, which is the easiest mode. Standard is obviously the easiest. It just gets you familiarized with the rounds, really. But I mean, after you play your first, what any difficulty, you get used to the rounds anyway. So that's really all it does. Deflation is actually more helpful. It's probably the most helpful part of easy difficulty on beginner maps. Same with intermediate, advanced, and hard. It gets you used to spending money efficiently and getting towers that are good at popping. Oh, well, it's from round. What is deflation again? I completely forgot what round it starts on. I know what it is. You get $20,000, but round 40? No, 50. Okay, sorry, 31 to 60. So basically, it'll get you used to, well, you already get used to round 40 if you already complete the modes before that, which you have to do standard in order to get to deflation. However, deflation itself is very different. It does help you, and it also, you don't gain any money, so it's kind of like a save up strategy. So 20K to work with. It helps you understand how to manage money very early on in the game, which is very helpful because basically in every other game mode, except for um, medium difficulty, hard difficulty is probably the one where you're going to be saving money the most in order to go for stronger towers and fifth tiers eventually. For medium difficulty, it doesn't really matter, but it does teach you early on easy difficulty deflation, how to save, or not how to save money, how to spend your money efficiently. And that's all there really is to easy mode on maps. I mean, primary doesn't really matter unless you're going with an only primary strategy for chimps, which you can do. I've done that, but you do end up using a village or an alchemist, so it's not purely primary. So, I mean, I guess it'll help you figure out which primary towers are the strongest and how to use ice and glue efficiently with towers that can't pop frozen balloons. That's really all it does. Moving on now to the second part of the video, medium difficulty. So, standard reverse. So, first of all, let's talk about standard. It's a little bit harder. Towers cost a little bit more. You have less lives. I will say this right now. You should always be using lives as a resource, but you can beat, well, basically every map as far as haunted without having to waste a single life, even the shield lives you get from monkey knowledge, because easy and medium aren't that hard for standard. Like, yes, you still have to have some strategy because you have to deal with early rounds, you have to deal with purples, you have to deal with camos, you have to deal with um, Moabs, and then eventually you have to deal with the BFB specifically on medium difficulty. But it doesn't really do much. I guess it helps you a little bit more in learning how to spend money in the early game because upgrades and towers just cost a little bit more. However, it doesn't help you as much as in hard mode because hard mode is the defining mode of the entire map. Just because hard mode will basically help you for all of the harder runs, including chips, which is primarily how you get the black border on a map because you can complete every other game mode, but if you don't complete chimps perfectly straight through one run, you don't get the black border. That's pretty much the gist of it. Reverse also gets you familiarized with the map. It helps you get familiarized with the map. Speaking about familiarization of maps, maps like middle of the road, tree stump, town center, scrapyard, um, Lotus Island. Uh, None of these. Hedge. Those maps have the most obstacles that can be problems if you don't use, for example, towers that can see over, like magic towers, specifically the wizard and the super monkey. If you get ultra vision on the super monkey bottom path, and if you get the top seeking magic, I believe it's what it's called. They can see through objects, and also seeking shurikens. They don't go through objects, but they follow the balloons. So same type of principle. You can still beat it without using those towers. Like if you use a juggernaut, they can bounce off obstacles, but it's much easier using seeking towers or towers that can see over walls because it's much easier. But yeah, that's really the only easy maps that might give you some problems with placement. All the other maps, it's pretty much easy. You don't really have anything that's blocking. You don't really have obstacles that are blocking you unless you place them in very specific spots, and they're pretty much easy otherwise. Um, and reverse really just helps you get familiarized because some maps have some obstacles in the end of the map, so it also helps you with that. But reverse really isn't anything special. I will also mention this: medium mode usually goes up to round 60. Easy mode goes up to round 40 unless you're doing deflation, which is round 31 to 60. So 31 to 60 for deflation mode on for easy for deflation mode on easy. It helps you a little bit to prepare for medium, but to be fair, medium is towers cost more, you have less lives. Like I said before, upgrades cost more. So it's just different. Um, but it really isn't like that much different. So it shouldn't be that much harder. The difficulty, like the step up from difficulty, is very easy from easy to medium. But when you get to hard, is really when like it's set in stone because you do have to go up to round 80 and face the ZOMG. So you're facing technically mid to late game, or mid to mid late game, I would say, because after round 80 would be more considered late game, in my opinion. Yeah, and military. So these modes, primary, military, and magic, they just get you familiarized with the towers. They don't really do much. It does help you figure out how to use towers that you normally wouldn't use in different ways. I will say that because camo options for each category type or tower category type is, you know, primary really has only ice monkey if you're going top, if you're crossing path with, if you're crossing with top path, or you're going just top path, and then the dart monkey, but that's all the camo you get. Military, there's a lot of camo options there. You have the D camo with the motor. You have camo with the plane, the spy plane upgrade for the um, monkey ace. You have the monkey buccaneer that can get um, crow's nest bottom path upgrade, which also gives you camo. So there's options. And then same with magic, but you have to get specific upgrades. So it just helps you know which upgrades give you camo, which upgrades can pop lead. It just familiarizes you with the towers. That's really all it does. So there's not really much to say about that. Apocalypse is very useful. I'm saying this now. It's not as useful as some of the other game modes. Specifically, I'm mentioning now half cash, but Apocalypse does help you understand how to spend your money early game, and it also ramps up really fast. So it also helps you get understand which towers are good both early, mid, and late game. Um, because you eventually upgrade them. So as you upgrade them, those upgrades can be carried from mid to late game, or from early to mid and then mid to late game. So it does help you. It still is medium difficulty, so it's not going to be the full difficulty, but it does ramp up. Like when you get to round 60, it is ridiculous. But it doesn't teach you about balloon rounds at all. Like the rounds are completely different. Camos, it sends you a billion camos before you're supposed to have camos, and yeah, it really just teaches you about early game spending, and how to set up for late, mid to late game. And if you get up to round 100, I guess it helps you to set up to late game, but I haven't done that yet, so shame on me, I guess. But yeah, that's all really Apocalypse does. It is super useful though, so that is probably the most useful game mode in both medium and early game. Deflation is okay, but Apocalypse is definitely the better out of the two. Okay, so now moving on to hard difficulty. Um, I know I was gonna say this is just for beginner maps, and technically it is because I've only reviewed which beginner maps matter. Because from intermediate to advanced to expert, it all depends on the type of map you have, which map, because they're all very different, and how you play them and which towers you place down. So hard difficulty, standard. It gets you used to balloon rounds from, of course, round 3 to 80, I believe. Um, Yeah, that's all standard does. It is the most useful game mode, or the most useful, I guess, metal in this game mode, because it gets used to the game. It just gets used to the game rounds and playing up to round 80. It is not the most useful for completing chimps runs, but it is the most useful for the map itself because it's the hardest difficulty, technically speaking. Impoppable is obvious. Well, chimps obviously is the hardest difficulty, but it's the hardest difficulty before you get to what I call the special game modes. So in hard, you have to complete 7 different game modes in order to black border map, which is why hard is the hardest game mode. Obviously, it's in the name. Um, but also, it's just the amount of time that it takes you to complete each different game mode under the hard difficulty. So, standard, that's all it does. It just gets you used to the map under hard difficulty. Magic monkeys, as I mentioned before, it gets you used to the monkeys. Um, Magic monkeys is probably the easiest to use because it has the highest DPS, and you got the alchemist, which is a very good support tower, and you don't get the village in any of these game modes, so having the alchemist is really useful. But that's really all, like, the usefulness that magic monkeys gives you. It doesn't really help you in any way. It just shows you that, yeah, you can complete hard mode, but with just magic monkeys. But yeah, that's all that magic monkeys mode does. Okay, now moving on to double HP Moabs. This one is kind of controversial, but I would say it is helpful in just showing you, not showing you, but helping you, like, get enough Moab damage down. But honestly, I don't think it's very useful in helping you understand the map, or, as a matter of fact, helping you with any chimps runs, because it's double HP Moabs. Um, it's just a weird game mode. I don't know what else to say. You just overkill basically if you use any double HP Moab strategy on any other game mode, because the Moabs have half the health on every other game mode. So double HP Moabs is a fun game mode because it lets you use a ton of towers that do a lot of Moab damage. Maybe that's all it really does. It shows you which towers do decent Moab damage so that you can get ready for, well, I'd say past round 60, because if you have a decent Moab popping strategy on round 40, it can usually carry you up to round 60, so you don't need anything past that. Um, you don't need any more Moab popping power until you get to round 60 or above. That being said, though, it's just double HP Moabs. I don't know what else to say about it. Um, and in terms of usefulness for helping you complete a black border map, I'd rank it right above the um yeah, right above why did I forget, it's the tip of my tongue. Apocalypse. So first would be, well, the standards, so easy standard, easy or medium standard, and hard standard, because those just get you used to the map. And then would be primary, uh, primary monkeys only, military monkeys only, and magic monkeys only, because those get you used to each category type of tower and which towers can do what towers have camo detection, and just gets you familiarized more with the towers rather than, I guess, the actual map, because you would already get familiarized with the map by playing the standard modes. So that's where I would place double HP mobs, above those. So out of all the categories, it would rank ninth, because after the each category type, so primary only, military only, magic only, is um, deflation, and then apocalypse, because deflation helps you, like I said again, basically make a plan with the certain amount of money, and it's always 20,000, but it just an example I'm using. And then apocalypse helps you with early game and ramp up of upgrades and towers themselves. And then double HP Moabs just helps you understand which towers do a lot of Moab damage, because I mean the other balloons are just normal health, so it doesn't really help you with anything else. So I'm deciding whether half cash or alternate balloon rounds would be ranked like next. So rank one obviously would be easy mode standard, and the rank one is just how useless it is. It doesn't really help you. It's just to get you familiarized with the map. That's pretty much it. Same with all the other standard modes. I'm not going to repeat myself. Moving on. Um, I would say alternate balloons rounds is next, because it's alternate balloon rounds, so it's not the rounds you're used to, and the Moabs that you get are fortified. Sorry, the Moab round, so like round 40 is a fortified Moab instead. So it's kind of like double HP Moabs mixed with Apocalypse, but you do have rounds at the end, you do have income, and it doesn't ramp up as hard, but it is harder, technically speaking. It is harder, but if you can get through alternate balloons rounds, it definitely makes impoppable chimps and half cash much easier. I would say that ABR is like, yeah, I guess it's just 11th rank. It's not above half cash, because half cash helps you tremendously. It's basically like deflation, but way harder, because it continues through the entire game. You do get money, but it's half of everything. So it is much more useful for learning towers, learning how to buy towers early, and which upgrades on which towers ramp up really well for early to late to mid to late game. Excuse me. But yeah, so 11th rank is alternate balloons, and then 12th rank is half cash. Impoppable is probably the most useful for any of them. I don't really have to explain that, but I'm going to anyway. You go from round 6 to 100, so the same rounds that you would face on chimps. It's all the normal rounds you would face on any of the standard um, modes for each difficulty. However, everything costs more. You have one life, so it has that. There's no safety net with your lives. You have to use towers, so it does have that same aspect for chimps. You can use powers on all of these game modes. I try not to, because I mean I haven't really used powers unless I'm trying to go like insanely late game, so that like pass around the hundreds, so that you know it's much easier. But there's really no need to use powers. That being said, they'll use powers because they're fun to use, and well, I'll show you guys after I'm done talking about what this video is about. But I have a lot of powers I just don't use, because honestly, you don't need to use them, but it does make the game a lot easier. Um, but yeah, that's the only difference with Impoppable is it costs more than Chimps, and you can use powers. But other than that, it's the same as Chimps, so it's the most useful. So rank 13, I think that's right. Um, we're gonna go through real quick and check. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Okay, yeah. So rank 13, Impoppable. Um, yeah, it just, what can I say? It helps you with chimps, and it gets you ready because it costs more. It is a little different though. You do get more money, I would say. You definitely get more money, but everything is more expensive. So I don't think it balances out. It's definitely easier than chimps because you do have monkey knowledge. I always have monkey knowledge on for Impalpable, so that is probably the one defining factor that makes it different. I'm pretty sure if you turned off monkey knowledge, it would be very, very similar to chimps, other than the fact that you can use powers. But yeah, that's all the difference there is, really. Chimps. Obviously, the one mode that gives you the black borders, so it is the hardest. You have no knowledge, no selling, no extra money, um, no powers. So it's really hard. No extra lives. But yeah, it's the one that you use to complete black border maps. I would say Chimps is for all beginner maps is really easy. There's no definitive strategy. You can pretty much use any strategy you want. It's for some of the harder maps on beginner maps. It's a little bit different. I will make separate videos, obviously, for intermediate, advanced, and expert maps when I'm talking about Chimps mode specifically. But yeah, that's rank 14. Obviously, it's the most useful because it is the Chimps run that you use. But yeah, that's pretty much all I have for this video concerning how to complete a Chimps run the easiest, or how to black border a map the easiest. That's probably going to be the title of the video. But yeah, just wanted to release this video to give you guys how I complete a Chimps, or how I complete a black border on a map, or a Chimps run, I guess, because it's the same thing, but specifically black border. Yeah, I think that's all I have to say. So yeah, it's so for specifically for beginner maps, like I was talking, Lotus Island, um, Tree Stump, I guess 1 2 Tree as well, Scrapyard, maybe Town Center. It depends on where you place the towers, and Hedge is just where you're gonna have a little bit more difficulty because there are some obstacles that can get in your way. I would say Hedge, 1 2 Tree, and Lotus Island are probably the hardest ones because they have obstacles that are permanent, or there's a lot of obstacles. 1 2 Tree is probably the one that's the easiest out of all of those three because you get extra buffs and the obstacles go away eventually. But yeah, that will be it for that. And I'm just gonna show you because I can. So I have all these powers I don't use. Obviously, I use cast drops when I want to for some of the harder intermediate maps because I just wanted to get through the rounds like double HP Moabs or half cash. It's just so brutal on some of those maps. I'm like, I really don't need this map or this game mode to do the chimps run because it really does all come down to the chimps game mode. Like, I don't know how else to say that. It all comes down to the chimps mode. Really, it doesn't really matter about all the other game modes. If you have completed a single black border map, you will understand how chimps works generally. So you don't really have to worry about any other game modes or any difficulty on any maps. But I still want to explain that. And then here are all the Insta Monkeys I have. You know, I use them sometimes, but I stopped using them recently because I've been doing this series and I just wanted to complete the maps just using skill. And it's honestly not that hard. Um, yeah, it's really not that hard. The chimps run is, like I said, the definitive. It'll determine how, not how skilled you are, but how hard the map is. But yeah, just wanted to release this video. Thank you guys for watching. AOG Gaming here. If you're enjoying the content, please like and subscribe. It really shows your support, helps me out, keeps you up to date with my content. 31 subscribers and going strong. You guys are amazing. Keep going. Yeah, that's all I really have for this video. Yeah, thank you guys for watching. I'll see you guys later. I am gonna release the black border for downstream, so stay tuned for that. That is coming out today, 100% guarantee. Probably not right after this video because I am gonna do another dislike video, but yeah. I'll see you guys later. Thank you for watching.